So after a short sleep and a reset at Butterfly Lake, I kind of then set out around 3 o'clock in the morning. So I woke up, had something to eat real quick, got myself sorted by the fire there, which was quite nice, and then set off. So at this stage it was kind of around, I think from memory, around -15, and started getting towards -20 as day broke. So from there I kind of had to follow a few different trails so that I didn't go across the half frozen lakes, because the risk of overflow in the dark was just too much. I didn't really want to have to go through it. So I followed the trails, followed where the other races had gone, and after a few hours, the sun came up, and I was moving along, and I worked my way down to the Yentna River. So once I got on the river, the trail there was nice and hard because it had a nice good freeze. The temperatures were pretty cold, but even though it was -20, I actually felt quite comfortable. And moving along the river, it kind of got fairly monotonous. So I tried to get into the routine of stopping, getting some water, going for some food, eating, tried to set up the routines that I needed or that were going to be imperative to me as I got further into the race, because if I didn't set them up now, come time where I was fatigued, it was cold and all these sort of things, I didn't want to have to try and develop a new routine then. So I tried to work out my routine, tried to get the efficiency I needed while I could now, while I was still fresh, so that later on when I was fatigued, it was just a habit, or it was just something that I understood how to do. So I deliberately went through, made sure that I kept eating, kept food coming in, water, these sort of things, kept moving along the river, and just tried to make the best I could of the time that was there. So despite being fairly monotonous, the day kind of didn't drag on too much. And I think it was around about 29 miles before I finally hit the Yentna Station Roadhouse. Hit that around sort of 4:30, so I was hoping to hit it a little bit earlier, but it's really hard to do accurate time and space sometimes. So I got there, went inside, dried my stuff out. It wasn't too bad, but just sort of got my socks dry, got a few other things sort of drying. Kind of contemplated whether I should stay there for an hour or two sleep, because I'd only had about 3 hours of sleep the night before and I was a little bit tired. I decided that I'd just get something to eat, get in some soft drink, because the sugar is something that you kind of crave after a while, and rehydrate, a little bit of chocolate, try not to spend too long there. And then I decided to get going, because I knew at around 21 miles down the river was the Bentalik Lodge, and I know from the previous race I did, the lodge just before that was quite a nice sleep. So I thought if I got away by about sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock, I could get to the lodge around midnight, 1 o'clock. So it'd take about 7 to 8 hours, I kind of predicted. But I didn't know what the I didn't know what the trail conditions were going to be like on the river, so I was kind of guessing or assuming. So I got out of there at 6 o'clock, sort of got going a couple of hours down the river, and then nightfall came in. From there I sort of started to get really tired, so I was using caffeine tablets to try and maintain my wakefulness. Okay, one tablet didn't work, so I went to a second, and then that kind of kicked in, and then I was just kind of moving along the river as quick as I could, as best I could, trying to keep my mind occupied, sort of looking at my watch every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour, just trying to get some sort of routine to pass the hours by. And then sort of as you get closer, you sort of start to look at your GPS more, thinking, okay, how far have I got to go? How close is this? And then every time you look, it doesn't seem to have gotten any closer. Okay, time's ticking by, don't seem to be getting any closer, and then eventually you come around a corner and you see the sign that you want to see. So I came off the river, I went up towards the lodge, and then I found it was actually quite a reward to get to the lodge for a sleep, because it was individual rooms with a queen size bed and an ensuite. So I enjoyed a good shower, okay, set myself up in dry clothes and these sort of things to get ready for bed, because at this stage I was starting to experience a little bit of chafe. Because of the extra weight I'd put on going into the race, I was chafing more than I normally would, so I knew I had to get to a point where I dropped the excess weight to stop the chafing. So I was just trying to maintain or reduce the amount of reduce the impact that was going to have on me. So the lodge itself was around 21 miles from Yentna Station, which put me at around about the 77 mile mark for the race. So during the course of the day, from about sort of 3:30 a.m, 4 a.m, through to about sort of 1:30 a.m, I'd covered a total distance of 49 miles, or around about 80 kilometres. So I covered a fair bit of distance that day. I didn't feel too bad, a little bit sore, but I had some food there, had a shower, had a good rest. So I allowed myself about 6 hours so I could get up in the morning and get on with another good day, because I wanted to make sure I could cover some more distance that day, because I wanted to try and get ahead of the curve when it came to making sure that I had a couple of days in reserve, so that down the back end of the race, if I got poor weather or the blizzard, or I had to wait in a shelter cabin for high winds to pass, then I wasn't going to compromise my ability to finish. So I was trying to get a couple of days in the bank by pushing a little bit harder earlier when I knew I was fresh, so that it would pay off down the end. So the second day, long day, I felt alright, had some food, had a good sleep, and set myself up for another big day coming into day 3.